What would you do if the one person you kept pushing away turned out to be the one person you couldn't live without? Here's something worth thinking about before we dive in. Psychologists say that the walls we build to protect our hearts are sometimes the very walls standing between us and the life we truly want. Most of us have been hurt before, and because of that, we make decisions from a place of fear rather than hope. We call it being practical. But is it really? Today's episode of Contracted Hearts is going to challenge that question in the most unexpected way. And beyond the romance, we're going to see that every secret kept, every act of revenge, and every choice made in anger carries consequences that have a way of finding their way back. If you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now because this story only gets better from here. And if you've been with us from the beginning, drop a comment and tell me, do you think Abigail is making the right call? This is Contracted Hearts, Episode 7. Let's get into it.
Abigail got up and looked at Juncio in surprise. "Do not get upset, Abigail," Juncio said. "It's just the way I feel." She shook her head and ran out of the room. Once again, she leaned outside the door as she tried to control her beating heart. After a while, she said to herself, "No, I am not going to run. I should make my stance clear to Juncio. I've already promised to care for him, and I'll fulfill my promise. I'll care for him until he gets well." She was about to walk back into the room when her phone began to ring. She took out her phone and saw that it was from Grace. She breathed in and out before answering the call. "Hi, Grace, what's up?" "Hi, Abigail, I'm so sorry," Grace said. "Adrian told me about the accident. How is Juncio? Is it really bad? I heard he's confined to the house for the time being." Abigail sighed. "Yeah, well, I offered to take care of him, so I'm doing my best, and I'm hopeful that he would get well." "You're taking care of him? Then I doubt if he'll really recover." Grace teased. "What is that supposed to mean?" Abigail asked. "Oh, come on, we both know how rigid you are, isn't it?" "Am I rigid?" Abigail couldn't believe her ears. "Come on, I'm just pulling your leg. But I'm saying, why didn't you get nurses to help him out? I mean, if he can't use his legs, what happens when he needs to go to the toilet, bathe, and stuff like that? I don't think you'd want to do all those things." Grace remarked. "I'll do them," Abigail said. "What? Did my ears hear wrongly?" "Abigail, you are willing to. What's the big deal?" Abigail interrupted. "I said I'll do them. Is there something you're not telling me?" Grace asked. "Come on, Abigail, you can tell me. Have you and Juncio?" "Cut it out, Grace. You already know my stand here, so don't say such things. I promised to help him, and that's all that there is to it. I'm just going to keep doing whatever I can until he gets better, but I am not crossing any lines." "No." "Oh, all right, I've heard you," Grace said. I wanted to ask, have you heard from your dad?" "Who is my dad?" "Oh, you mean the man that used to be my father," Abigail replied. Grace smiled. "Come on, Abigail, you know who I'm talking about. Has he tried to call you?" "No, why would he call me? I mean, isn't it obvious from what happened the last time that I have no business with him anymore?" "That's strange," Grace said. Why? What's strange?" Abigail asked. "Well, seeing that his company just went bankrupt, I thought you'd be the first person he'd run to." Grace said. "What? His company went bankrupt? When?" Abigail was shocked. "I don't really know the details, but apparently they've been having serious financial struggles. I thought you knew about it. I was thinking he'd come to your house and make a scene. Although I'm just giving you a heads up, because he might still do it." "Okay, thank you," Abigail said. After that, Abigail asked Grace about when she was going to meet with Adrian's parents. Inside his bedroom, Juncio's phone rang. When he picked it up, he saw that it was from his grandfather. He answered the call, and his grandfather asked, "Juncio, how are you feeling?" "I'm doing great," Juncio replied. "Abigail is taking such good care of me." "Oh, that's nice. You see, it's one of the perks of being married, especially to a good woman." "You can say that again," Juncio replied. "Okay, so I have transferred all my shares to you as we agreed. I've given you 50%, so you are now the highest shareholder in the company." Juncio surprisingly realized that he wasn't thrilled by this news. However, he could not sound ungrateful. "Thank you, grandfather," he said. "I didn't think you'd go through with it." Why wouldn't I? You fulfilled all my conditions. Thank you, Juncio said. Thank you very much. You're always welcome, he replied. You told me that Bella would be going to school in 2 days, so I want to be the one to drop her off and pick her up. Why? I think Abigail would want to do that, and so will I. I'm not saying you guys can't tag along. I'm just saying I've waited enough. Please let me just spend some time with my great-granddaughter. I don't know how long I have left. I want to be close to her on her way to school and back. In fact, I want to use the whole of next week spoiling her silly. Juncio felt a little guilty because he knew that Bella wasn't related to his grandfather by blood. However, he said, I'm sure she'd be happy to spend time with you. The best grandfather and great-grandfather in the world. Juncio's grandfather chuckled, feeling pleased by his compliment. After the call ended, Juncio dropped the phone and a frown appeared on his face. No matter what, I cannot let Abigail find out that I've gotten the shares, he said to himself. Right after that, the door was pushed open and Abigail came in. Juncio was surprised. You came back? And I thought that was good night. Yeah, I came back, Abigail said. Turns out that I'm that lady who likes to keep her word if it's possible. I did give my word that I'll care for you until you can walk on your own. So, I can't just run off on you unless I want to check on Bella. And I just did. She's still asleep, and the nanny's also there by her side. Okay, Juncio said. Thank you, Abigail, for going out of your way to care for me. Abigail came back to the bed and sat beside Juncio as she said, I'm going to ask you a question. Please be honest with me. When have I not been honest? Juncio asked. All right, tell me. I just learned that my father's company has gone bankrupt. Was it your doing? Juncio hesitated for a while as he studied Abigail's expression. In the end, he decided to come clean and said, Yes, I did it. Why did you do that? Abigail asked. Because they were hurting you, your dad, his wife, and son. They hurt you in the past, and they were all hurting you again. I couldn't tolerate it anymore, so I decided to teach them a lesson. But why do you have to keep meddling in my affairs, Juncio? I've told you before to let it be. I was going to handle it. I know, but I just wanted to support you. Why? Because you're my wife, don't you get it? Juncio, our marriage is not real, for the umpteenth time. Understand that everything going on here is an arrangement. I'm just here until you get your shares from your grandfather. Once you get it, I'm leaving, and I'm leaving with Bella. That was the arrangement, Juncio, please. Are you saying that I did wrong by helping you? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, don't make me get used to being pampered by you, Juncio. Juncio smiled. I don't know if you're happy or sad that I'm helping you out. I can't really figure out how you feel about this. Why? Am I not being expressive enough? Abigail asked. Yes, my dad got what he deserved. I'm happy he's bankrupt, but I'm not happy about the fact that you had to step in to do that. I don't want you fighting my battles for me. Juncio took hold of her hands and said, But I want to Abigail. I know this wasn't part of the arrangement, but you already know how I feel. I have fallen in love with you, and I cannot bear to see you in pain. My heart aches whenever you are in pain or whenever you cry, and all those who hurt you do not deserve even a moment of joy. I want them to feel the pain that is worse than death. Abigail sighed. So do you feel better then after doing what you did? It depends on how you feel about it, Juncio replied. If you're happy, then of course I'd feel very happy about it. But if you're not, then I will feel regret. I can even turn around and reinstate your father's company. No, don't do that, Abigail said. Then I'll take it that you're happy. She shrugged. Well, can you let go of my hands now? Juncio shook his head. No, Abigail, you didn't give me an answer to my question earlier. You cannot keep running from me. I mean, we're still in the first month. We still have a long way to go, 6 months, 1 year. Are you going to keep running away from me for that long? Well, I came back, didn't I? That shows that I have no intention of running. But there's something more important to think of here. I'm all ears, Juncio said. So let's assume that I give in to your demands. How do you intend to have sex in your condition? Juncio stared at his legs. Abigail chuckled. Shouldn't you worry about getting well first? As it is, you can't even move around the house, and you want to have sex. Wow, that's brutal, Abigail, Juncio replied. You're hurt. I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention, but I was just stating the fact bluntly. I guess you're right, Junseo said sadly. But then if I understand you correctly, are you saying that once I'm okay we can have sex? Well, let's just wait till then. For now, let's focus on you getting well. Oh, come on, Abigail, I'm not a child. I understand what you're doing. You're doing to me what you do to Bella, isn't it? Trying to sweet-talk me so I can cooperate with you, and then once I get better, you'll return to the cold Abigail who doesn't give 2 cents about me. Well, that is very offending, Abigail said. Is that what you think of me? This is not about what I think of you. This is what is happening right now. It's what you're doing, Junseo replied. Oh, in that case, fine, let's go ahead and have sex. Come on, Junseo, let me see you in action. Junseo became saddened by Abigail's words. He let go of her hands, turned his back on her, and lay on the bed, struggling to lift his leg. Despite how hard he struggled, the pain in his leg wouldn't let him, and he began to grit his teeth. Seeing the condition he was in, Abigail helped him, lifted his legs from the ground, and placed them on the bed. Afterward, she turned to the other side. Since Junseo was laying on his side, she also did the same and began looking at him. He turned his face away, but she said, "Why are you looking away from me, Junseo? Sorry if I upset you with my words." He smiled. "I am not upset, actually, it's just that. Well, you're here, and that's what matters. Thank you, Abigail, for caring for me. Can you move a little bit closer?" "You're really taking advantage of the situation," Abigail said. She smiled and moved closer. Junseo cupped her cheeks and gently kissed her. "I should say goodnight now," Abigail said after pulling away. Junseo felt very happy that she did not get upset or run away again. It was progress. As she looked at him, Abigail realized that it was the first time she was closely paying attention to Junseo's look, and he was very handsome with a perfectly chiseled face and sexy lips. Her heart began to race, and she instantly turned her back on him as she wondered, "Why is my heart fluttering?" As Junseo stared at Abigail, who had her back to him, he thought back to the deal he had made with his doctor and smiled. After the accident, he had felt a slight pain in one of his legs and found it difficult to move about. But then he got an idea. He wanted Abigail to take care of him in hopes that she'd get closer to him and fall for his charms. So he asked the doctor to make his injury look more serious than it was. In all honesty, he could move about on his own as he wasn't in as much pain as he pretended to be, but he was happy that Abigail was taken in by his act, and he felt that she was slowly softening her resolve towards their relationship. He stared at her back and thought inwardly, talk about taking advantage of the moment. He began to wonder if she was asleep and realized that he had not put a bigger part of his plan into motion yet. He tapped her gently, and when she turned, he realized that she wasn't sleeping. "Oh, I thought you were sleeping," he said. "No, I wasn't," Abigail replied. "Is there a problem? So what were you doing? Were you just staring into space?" Abigail smiled. "What is it, Junseo?" "Well, I need to bathe and Now, I thought you had given up on the idea," Abigail said. Junseo chuckled. "Why would I give up on the idea?" "Abigail, I take a bath every night before going to bed. There's no way I'd be able to get any sleep if I do not take a bath. So, what is it going to be?" "Of course, I agreed to do it, so let's just get it over with," Abigail replied. She got up, turned to the other side of the bed, and helped him to sit up. Getting hold of his crutches, she placed one under his armpit and helped him to get up. After which, his other arm rested around her neck. She gently led him into the bathroom. When they were finally inside the bathroom, she contemplated running the bathtub for him, but realized that it was going to make everything much more difficult, since her strength could not measure up to his. "You're going to be using the shower," she said to him. "I don't have a problem with that," Junseo replied. "Okay, I need to make you sit so you can take off your clothes." "With all pleasure," Junseo said happily. Abigail led him over to the edge of the bathtub, and with her help, he was able to sit down. As his butt landed on the ceramic material, he smiled at Abigail, who was staring at him. "What are you smiling for?" she asked. "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "What do you want me to say?" Junseo asked. "I don't have a choice. It's not every day I get to have my wife bathe me." She rolled her eyes and stood up. I should get your sleeping clothes ready first. That way you wouldn't stay naked for long." Junseo chuckled. "Yes, ma'am." She went out of the bathroom to his wardrobe and took out sleeping clothes for him, as she had noticed what he liked wearing to bed. After placing the clothes on the bed, she went back into the bathroom and put the crutch by the side before facing Juncio. She asked him to take off his shirt, and he quickly obliged. She gulped as she stared at his bare body. It wasn't the first time, though, but for some reason, she could feel the heat emanating from him. Just like his face, his body was perfectly chiseled, and she began to wonder if he worked out. "I've never seen you do any exercises," she remarked. "Oh yeah, that's because I work out in my sleep," Juncio replied, smiling. "Whatever," she said, rolling her eyes. "I need to take off your pants now, and for that to happen, you need to be standing. As I said before, feel free to have your way with me." "What?" "Oh no, I meant feel free to help me up," Juncio said. Abigail picked up the crutch. Taking it back to Juncio, she placed it under his arm and helped him stand up. Afterward, she pulled down his pants. She closed her eyes, not wanting to take a look at him in his birthday suit. But Juncio, being who he was, said, Mrs. Park, I don't see this happening with your eyes closed, okay? Come on, stop acting like a teenager. You're a grown woman." "Yeah, whatever," she said. She gently pulled the pants down as she was afraid that she was going to cause pain in his leg. All the while, she deliberately refused to stare at his length. After taking off his pants, she heaved a sigh of relief. She was already sweating at this point. She realized that bathing him wasn't such an easy task and regretted offering to do it in the first place. "Perhaps I should have eaten my words and let him hire the nurses," she said inwardly. "Maybe tomorrow I could tell him about my change of heart." She walked over to the shower and turned it on. When it began to run, she came back to where Juncio was and helped him up once more. They gently made their way to the shower and stopped when Juncio was standing directly under it. As the water poured on his body, Abigail picked up a sponge and filled it with lather. Afterward, she began to scrub his body gently. Juncio closed his eyes, telling himself that this was the best moment of his life. As she got below, she noticed that for the second time in front of her, Juncio had gotten a boner. She ignored it and did her best to focus more on the task. She quickly got it over with and got up. At this point, she was drenched as her whole body and hair were soaked with water. Juncio kept staring at her while she went over to his back and began to scrub him. Incidentally, she found herself having the same effects as Juncio. It had been a long time, and as Juncio had said, she had been celibate for years. She didn't think it would make a difference, but it turned out that being with a naked Juncio was having an effect on her. But she was determined to overcome this newfound desire. After bathing him, she turned off the shower, went back to where she kept the towel, and brought it back. She gently wiped his body and afterward, she tied another towel around his waist and began to lead him out of the bathroom. The moment they got to the bed and Juncio sat down on the bed, he pulled Abigail toward him, held her cheeks, and crashed his lips onto hers. For the first time since Juncio had met her, Abigail willingly let him have his way as his tongue explored her mouth. As her body began to yearn for more, she pulled away from him a few seconds later. "Don't do that anymore, Juncio," she said. "I can't help myself," Juncio replied, peering into her eyes. "Abigail, my heart and body yearn for you." "Don't go there, Juncio. I don't want to regret offering to help." "I'm sorry," Juncio replied defeatedly, not wanting her to change her mind about helping him. She picked up his clothes and began helping him to put them on. Once the task was complete, she sighed in relief as though she had done a very strenuous work. "I'm sorry for putting you through so much stress," Juncio said. "No, it's nothing," she replied. "I should go to my room now and take my bath." "Why?" "There's a bathroom here. You can bathe here." "No, I can't," she replied. "My things are in my room, and I'll be more comfortable there." "Okay, I'll be waiting for you," Juncio replied. Abigail hurried out of his room and closed the door behind her, while Juncio smiled and leaned on the bed feeling content. On her way to the room, she bumped into Adrian, and he became surprised. "What happened to you?" he asked. Abigail began. She was surprised that she felt ashamed to tell Adrian that she had been bathing Juncio, but it seemed as though Adrian figured out what had happened and said, "Oh, sorry, I don't want you to catch a cold. Please go ahead." "Thank you," Abigail said. She rushed into her room, and when she got there, she saw the nanny holding Bella in her arms as they both slept. She smiled and was about to make it to the bathroom door when the nanny woke up. "Oh, ma'am," she said. "What happened to you?" "Shoo," Abigail said, shushing her. "Don't worry about it." She went into the bathroom, quickly took her bath, and washed her hair afterward. She came out and dried it before changing into different clothes. When she got to Juncio's door, she hesitated as she stood outside. Something told her that being this close to Juncio in the name of helping him was something she was going to regret, but she could not turn her back at this point. After standing outside for a while, she opened the door and went in. She saw that Juncio's eyes were open and asked, "You're not sleeping? I've been gone for almost an hour. Why?" "I was waiting up for you," Juncio replied. She shook her head. "Waiting up for me?" "Juncio, nothing is going to happen." "I know. I just wanted to make sure you were okay." "I'm okay," she said. Going over to the bed, she laid on her side and closed her eyes while Juncio said, "Good night, my dear wife." When it was morning, Eugene received a call from the man whom she had put in charge of watching over Ethan. And he said, "There's a problem, Mississippi Park." "What happened?" she asked. "Well, Ethan passed out twice last night, and he has been crying that his arms are hurting and every part of his body is in pain. You said we should be feeding him only once, but it seems that is not enough, and this morning he passed out, and since then he hasn't woken up." "Oh really? I'll be there in a jiffy." Eugene quickly got dressed and hurried over to the building where Ethan was kept. When she went in and saw him, the trace of the old Ethan she knew was gone, and he looked completely different. She smiled in satisfaction. "I guess I've taught him a good lesson." "We need to save him," the man said. "Unless you want him to die, though." "No, I want him to live, but I need to ensure that he spends the rest of his life regretting what he did to me." "So, what do you want us to do?" the man asked. "I want you to destroy his balls. He should never be able to touch another woman again." "Okay, ma'am," the man replied. He went over to the store and took out a hammer. Coming back, he opened Ethan's leg, and the latter, who was unconscious, had no idea of what was happening. Lifting the hammer up, he struck it on Ethan's penis, and Eugene closed her eyes at the sight. The pain forced Ethan to open his eyes, and he screamed at the top of his voice. Afterward, he fainted, and his entire thighs were covered with blood. "Now you can take him to the hospital. Just dump him by the gate. If he's lucky to make it, well, good for him, but if he doesn't, well, I gave him a chance." The man took him and placed him in Eugene's car, and they dumped him at the gate of a hospital. Afterwards, they drove away. After driving away, Eugene ensured that the fake plate number she had used was removed from the car and smiled. "Now he's going to spend the rest of his life as an incomplete man. This is enough to please me because now my revenge is complete." The moment she drove away, a patient who was coming out of the hospital noticed Ethan lying outside and quickly called the attention of the doctors. 2 doctors came out, and when they saw him in a pool of blood, they were surprised. "Who did this?" one of the doctors asked. "I don't know," the patient replied. "I just came here and met him bleeding, and he seems to be alive." "All right, let's take him into the hospital and treat him." That morning, while Juncio was still sleeping and Abigail had gone out of the room, his phone began to ring. He opened his eyes, and when he looked at the screen, he saw that it was the man he had asked to investigate the source of his accident, and he knew that at this point, he had gotten an answer for him. He picked up the phone to answer the call, but right at that point, his door was opened, and he quickly hung up on the man. Bella ran into Juncio's bedroom and excitedly got on the bed. "Good morning, Daddy. I've been looking for you. I haven't seen you in a long time." Juncio smiled and said, "Morning, darling. How are you feeling today?" "I'm feeling okay." As she looked around the room, her eyes darted to the crutches lying on the ground, and she asked, "Are those yours, Daddy?" Juncio nodded. "Yes, they're mine, sweetie." "Oh no, are you sick?" Juncio laughed. "Why would you think I am sick?" "Well, because only people who cannot walk use crutches." "Yeah, well, I had a little problem with my leg, and so it's just helping me for the time being. Very soon I'll be fine," Juncio assured. "I'm so sorry, Daddy," Bella said sadly. "Does it hurt? Are you in pain?" Juncio smiled. "No, baby, I am not in pain, okay? I wanted to play with you today, and I looked for you everywhere, but I didn't see you." I saw Uncle Adrian, and he said you were in your room, so I ran here to see you. What about your mommy? Juncio asked. She's in the kitchen with Uncle Adrian. She's cooking in the kitchen? Bella said. No, she's talking with Uncle Adrian in the kitchen. Oh, okay, that's nice. Just as Juncio spoke, the door was pushed open, and Abigail came in carrying a tray of food. Bella, what are you doing here? She asked. I thought I asked you to go back to your room. I came to see Daddy, Bella replied. And he's not feeling well. See, he has crutches because his leg is paining him. Juncio shook his head. No, sweetie, I said it's not paining me. Abigail smiled at her. Don't worry, baby, it's nothing serious. He's going to be fine. Yeah, Bella, Mommy's right. I'm going to be fine. Okay then, I want us to have breakfast together, Bella replied. Of course, we always have breakfast together, Juncio said. Do you want us to have it here in my room? Abigail shook her head, gesturing for Juncio to say no, but Bella said, Yes, I want to eat with Daddy in his room. All right, let's eat together in that case. Left with no other choice, Abigail ended up serving the food on a low table, and they all ate while sitting on Juncio's bed. Afterward, Abigail told Bella that it was time for her to have her bath and get the final dose of her medicine, so she took her out of the room. Once they left, Juncio called back the man who had earlier called, and when the call was answered, he said, Sorry about that, I had to hang up for important reasons. It's okay, sir, the man replied. So from what I was explaining, your accident wasn't really an accident. Someone deliberately messed with your brakes. I was able to get the footage of everything last night, and I caught the culprit, and he has exposed who sent him. So you have the culprit with you? Juncio asked. Well, I made a deal with him that he wouldn't get arrested if he told me the truth. He's only a messenger after all. The man replied. Okay, Juncio said. So who was it? Well, it turned out to be your cousin Tae-hyun, and he's not working alone. He's working with your company's biggest rival. Tom Hastings. Juncio shook his head. I can't believe Tae-hyun is this desperate. Thank you very much for your findings. I know what to do. After the call ended, Juncio thought about the best way to handle Tae-hyun, but no matter how he thought about it, he knew that he couldn't take the kind of action he would have loved to. He had to consider Min-jae, Tae-hyun's younger brother, and his grandfather as well. Since he wasn't leaving the house for the time being, he decided to focus on gaining Abigail's love and making her fall for his charms, promising himself that he was going to address the issue once he had taken care of the most important thing to him. While at the hospital, Ethan finally opened his eyes. He had been given anesthesia, which made him sleepy but also helped with the pain because his length was in severe pain. While he was still lying on the bed, 2 officers came. When he saw them, he scrunched his brows. His first thought was that Eugene wanted to get him arrested because of the video he had made. But then the doctor said, Don't worry, I called them. From what happened to you, it's very important for the police to be here. They'll be able to apprehend the culprit and make them pay. Oh, I see, Ethan replied. One of the officers took out a book and a pen and said, How are you feeling, Mr. Whitman? I am fine, well, I am better than I was before, Ethan replied. So from what the doctor said, you've not been well fed in the past few days, and a vital organ in your body has been destroyed. Do you have any idea who did this to you? Ethan pondered over what he was going to reply. He wanted to deal with Eugene so badly, but reporting to the police was not the way. No matter how much he thought about it, Eugene was Juncio's sister, and if he reported her to the police, they were going to find a way to get her out. However, they'd come up with a better way to ruin him. It was in his best interest to keep quiet. He still had something he could use against Eugene. This time, he was done playing nice. She had thought she got all the videos, but he had hidden them. Of course, he couldn't tell anyone about it because he didn't trust anyone enough. But now the time had come. Once he was strong enough to leave the hospital, the first thing he'd do would be to expose her video to the public. This was the best punishment for what she did to him. Thanks to her, he would never be able to father a child again. He wondered if his fiancée would be able to stay with him knowing that he could no longer have sex. His mind went to Bella, his daughter, and he sighed. He had rejected her so many times. While he was tied up, he had thought about everything carefully and found it difficult to believe that Abigail must have cheated on him. No matter what, she wasn't the sort. All this time, he had been blinded by his arrogance that he refused to accept the truth. Bella was definitely his daughter. She even had a resemblance to his mom. He was going to get a DNA test done, and he was going to get his daughter back no matter what. Now that he had lost everything, Bella was the only thing he had. In the end, if he couldn't get her, he could walk away with good compensation from Juncio. After doing all that, he would then focus on dealing with Eugene. As he came up with this plan in his mind, he told the officers to leave, but they told him to get back to them if he remembered anything or got any information about what happened. After they left, the doctor said, "I felt that you were holding something back. Do you feel unsafe?" Ethan smiled. "Forget about the police, doctor. The person who did this to me is someone whose family they cannot offend, even if they wanted to. Can you help me with a phone?" The doctor gave him a phone, and he tried to call his fiancée, Cindy, but her number wouldn't go through. He tried her 2 numbers, but none of them went through. "I hope Eugene did not get to her too," he thought. "The number is not going through," he said, returning the phone to the doctor. Back at Hanamdong, Abigail took her duty seriously, helping Juncio with everything he needed. Juncio, on the other hand, tried his best not to go overboard. Although he wanted to ensure that Abigail was at his side at all costs, he still took a step back sometimes to make it much easier for her. When it was evening, she came, as usual, to take him to the bathroom so he'd take his bath. As she held him up from the bed, he pulled her down with him, and she ended up falling on his body. He smiled and looked at her. Abigail wanted to get up, but Juncio circled her waist with his arms. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Are you openly trying to take advantage of me? What else does it look like?" "Of course, I'm taking advantage," Juncio replied, smiling. "Let me go this instant," she demanded. "I will, but after doing something else." After speaking, he pulled her closer and crashed his lips on hers. Abigail closed her eyes and kissed him back. When their lips parted, Juncio stared at her with a gleam in his eyes while she smiled. This was progress. "Wow!" Juncio exclaimed happily. Abigail, on the other hand, was in a very good mood. She was excited because Bella had finally taken her last dose of medication, and come the following day, she'd be able to live her life as a normal person. It was a dream come true. Also, being in Juncio's arms no longer seemed like such a bad activity. She found herself enjoying it, but as Juncio stared at her and she looked at him too, she came to her senses and said, "Stop all this, Juncio. Come on, let's get you to the bathroom." Juncio smiled. "Your cheeks are so flushed, why?" She rolled her eyes. "You look cute, by the way," he said. She laughed. "Let me go, Juncio, right now." "Just one more kiss," Juncio replied. "No, let me go." She insisted. "No, I am not letting you go," Juncio said. "Come on, you can do this, Abigail. I believe in you." She stared at him for a while and finally nodded her head. Holding his cheeks, she quickly kissed him but bit his lips before getting up from his body. Juncio let her go and touched his lips. She smiled victoriously. "Well, that's your punishment for trying to take advantage of me. You're in pain, right?" Juncio smiled. "That's not possible." "What do you mean? How can your kiss cause me pain, Abigail?" Juncio asked. "Everything about you always excites me and improves my mood." "What a perv," she said, picking up a crutch. She helped him up from the bed, took him to the bathroom, and bathed him. Afterward, she brought him back and helped him lie on the bed. That night, as she slept beside him, she felt very happy, looking forward to tomorrow. The morning came by in a flash, and Abigail quickly rushed to her bedroom. She asked the nanny to take a rest because she wanted to personally prepare Bella for school. She bathed her, fed her, and dressed her up. Looking at her appearance, she smiled. "I'm so excited, baby. Tomorrow, I'm definitely going with you." "Yay! Great-grandpa would be taking me today," Bella said happily. Juncio's grandfather soon arrived, and when Bella saw him, she ran into his arms. He hugged her. "Oh, my little princess, I've waited so much for this day." "Thank you very much," Abigail said to him. "Oh no, I should be the one thanking you for giving me the opportunity to spend so much time with my princess," he replied. At this point, Juncio came out of the room walking with the aid of a crutch. "Wow, you look so much better," his grandfather complimented. "Yes, I do," Juncio replied. "It's all thanks to Abigail. She takes such good care of me. As I said before, one of the perks of having a good wife." His grandfather beamed. "All right, let's go. Otherwise, Bella's going to be late. You know it's her first day." As he led Bella out of the house, Juncio and Abigail followed behind. They stood by the door while he opened the car for Bella to get in. He came back and said, "You both should get enough rest, okay? As it is, I'm now a free man, having handed over all my shares to Juncio. I don't have any other work on my plate, so I can afford to enjoy myself with my great-granddaughter, but Juncio will have his hands full once he recovers." Abigail stared at him in surprise and back at Juncio. "You've handed all your shares to Juncio?" "Yes, he's now the highest shareholder of the park company." "Juncio, how could you not celebrate such amazing news with your wife?" Juncio tried to smile, but he couldn't. He cursed under his breath as he watched his grandfather get into his car and leave. The moment the car drove away, Abigail stood in front of him. An angry expression appeared on her face as she asked, "When were you going to tell me, Juncio, that the time has come to terminate our contract?" Juncio stared at Abigail with an apologetic expression on his face as he tried to explain. I did find out, but..." However, Abigail got upset and walked away. Struggling to move with his crutch, Juncio went after her and said, "Hold on, Abigail, please listen to me." What do you want to say?" "Juncio, you should have been honest with me from the start. I thought we were working together. I thought I could trust you. And we agreed. I thought we were on the same page here. Regardless of anything, you should have told me the truth. I mean, why keep me in the dark about this? And I had to hear it from your grandfather." "Listen, Abigail, it's... Please just calm down, okay? I'm sorry for not telling you." Abigail shook her head. "No, Juncio, we made a deal that once you get the shares, our contract will be over. And I think right now it's best if we bring everything to an end to avoid parting on bad terms." "Parting on bad terms?" Juncio asked. "Abigail, are you going to go back on your word to care for me until I'm okay?" "But you went back on your word, Juncio. You failed to abide by the contract," Abigail replied. "I'm sorry," Juncio said. "I was just afraid of losing you, Abigail." "Losing me?" "Juncio, this is not real. I can't say it enough." I know, Juncio replied. "You've emphasized it like 100 times, but for me, every moment I spend with you is real." Abigail stared at him for a while and finally said, "Fine, I'll stay around until the end of the month and care for you like we agreed. After that, I'm leaving with my daughter, and I'm taking my payment because that was the agreement." Juncio sighed while Abigail went into her room. As he went back into his room, Juncio began to blame himself. Perhaps he should have told his grandfather not to mention it in front of Abigail, but then he would have had to give him a reason. Things didn't go as planned. Abigail was different from most women he had seen, and she was holding on to something this small. Perhaps she could have tried to understand his reason for not telling her. Now he knew she was going to revert to the Abigail, who was very strict. In recent days, she had opened up to him a lot, and he thought they'd gotten closer. But now he realized how wrong he was. He sadly went back to his room. Just as Juncio had anticipated, as the days went by, Abigail changed. She barely smiled or played with him like she usually did, and barely laughed at his jokes. She was happiest when Bella was at home. Each time Bella was in his room, Abigail would be around. They'd laugh and act like a loving couple. But once Bella was out, Abigail would go back to her rigid self. Many times she took Bella out for ice cream, picked her up from school, and sometimes went with Juncio's grandfather. Grace also came. They'd take Bella out to have fun and see many places. Bella was excited, and it seemed as though she was living the best part of her life. Many times, Bella indicated her desire to go out with her father, but Abigail kept saying, "No, baby, your father is busy. He has a lot of work to do, so he can't take you out." By doing this, Abigail was trying her best to minimize Bella's association with Juncio. So once they eventually left, it would be easier for Bella to get over Juncio. Sometimes, Abigail would try to convince herself to dream. She'd tell herself that she could have a perfect life with Juncio, but she always got over what she believed was a delusion. Once the truth eventually came out to his grandfather that Bella wasn't his daughter, or Juncio eventually got tired of her someday, what would happen to her? This was what scared her more than anything else, so she made up her mind. She knew she had developed some feelings for Juncio, but it was best for her to put an end to it while it was still early. She made up her mind that she would leave. In the next few months or few years, Juncio wouldn't even remember her existence, and her daughter would forget him too. She sat down with Juncio to discuss how everything would happen. She explained that Juncio could tell his grandfather that she was going away to learn a skill, and she had to take Bella with her, until he could find a way to break the news to his grandfather. Meanwhile, the doctors finally released Ethan. When he arrived at his house, he saw that everything was in disarray. He checked for his cards and realized that they were not there. The only person who knew where they were was Cindy, so it meant she must have taken them. When he went to the bank, he learned that his account had been cleared out completely. He went back home and broke down in tears. "I am really pathetic," he said. He still owed the hospital money, and the doctor let him go on the promise that he'd pay back the money. But now he had nothing. He searched in a corner of his store where he knew no one. Not even Cindy would be able to find out what he hid. He found a phone. It had all the sex videos of Eugene he had saved as backup. Picking up the phone, he got a new SIM card and put it in the phone. Afterward, he tried to call Cindy. No matter how many times he tried to call her, her number never went through. He sighed, "What a bitch. As for you, Eugene, I am going to pay you back even if it's the last thing I do." For Juncio, the days seemed to move faster than usual. Abigail had minimized the time she spent with him. Although she still did her job, he couldn't pretend that he was still in so much pain, so he had to act like someone who was healing gradually. His doctor even came around once, so Abigail wouldn't figure out that everything was a setup. He thought about how his grandfather was going to feel when he eventually found out the truth, but that was the least of his problems. His heart was in a lot of pain because he had lost Abigail before he could get her. Now, Abigail would lead him to the bathroom, help him take off his clothes, then she'd go out and wait for him to bathe. She gradually pulled away from him until Juncio could not take it anymore. On one of the days his grandfather took Bella to school, and he and Abigail were left in the house. She went to her bedroom as she tried her best to avoid him, except when she felt it was necessary to be around him. Juncio stayed in the room feeling frustrated. Not wanting to pretend again, he got up, got rid of his crutch, and quickly took his bath, changing into an outfit that made him look sharp as though he wanted to leave for work. He looked at his calendar and saw that he no longer has time left. In 2 days, Abigail would be saying goodbye to him. How am I going to survive this? He asked himself. An idea suddenly occurred to him, and he said, I just need to try. If it doesn't work out and Abigail still decides to leave, then I'll have no choice but to give up. Leaving his room, he knocked on the door of Abigail's bedroom, but there was no reply. He pushed open the door and realized that she wasn't in the room. He listened to the sounds of running water and realized that she was in the bathroom. He decided to wait for her. He sat on the bed, waiting impatiently, his heart racing as he knew that this was going to be his last attempt to get Abigail to stay. After taking her bath, Abigail tied a towel around her body and came out of the bathroom. When she saw Juncio, she was surprised. How are you here? Isn't your leg in pain? I mean, you're not even with your crutch. I can help myself now, Juncio said. He got up and walked toward Abigail, surprising her. When Abigail realized that she was putting on just her towel, she became uncomfortable and said, You can leave now, Juncio. Whatever you want to say, we can talk about it later. I will leave, Abigail, Juncio replied. But there's something I need to do first. And what is that? Abigail asked. Cupping her cheeks, he crashed his lips onto hers. Abigail was taken by surprise, but she did not push Juncio away. Her hands went around his neck as she returned his kisses. Surprised, Juncio stared at her as he ran his thumb along her lower lip. He had expected some resistance from her, and even planned on how he was going to seduce her. But Abigail was willing, and it served to excite him more. He held her towel by its knot and pulled it off her body. She inhaled when it came loose, looking at him with unrestrained desire evident in her eyes. Juncio doffed his clothes, even as his eyes held hers. His hands went to her breasts, and he fondled them gently before covering a nipple with his lips. Abigail gasped as desire rippled through her body. Her throbbing core was wet, and she wanted him to fill her up. She clutched his hair, moaning as his fingers found their way to her folds, and he began to finger her. She almost lost her balance when she couldn't take it anymore, and Juncio instinctively lifted her onto the bed. With her legs parted, his tongue sucked her folds, reveling in the moans of pleasure. He kissed her, passionately, as he slid his length into her. She held his face as he made love to her, staring into his eyes as though it was the most natural thing to do. Her hands went around his back and her nails dug into his flesh when she neared her release. She called his name over and over, expressing how much she enjoyed being laid by him. When the passion was spent, Juncio held a sleeping Abigail in his arms as he said, "That was the best moment in my life. Thanks, Abigail. I love you so much." He knew Bella would soon be back from school, so he went back to his room while Abigail remained in her room. After waking up from sleep, she began thinking about what to do. Even when Bella got back from school, she noticed that her mom's demeanor was a sad one and asked, "What's the problem, Mummy? Are you sad? Did you fight with Daddy?" Abigail smiled. "No, darling, I just have a lot on my mind." Throughout that night, Abigail kept thinking about how she was going to walk away from Juncio. When he held her in his arms, she felt as though she was home. But she could not stop herself from thinking, what would happen if Juncio decided one day that he doesn't want me anymore? He was a man after all, and she had learned the hard way that a man's heart could change at any time. She convinced herself that what she was doing was for the best, protecting herself, her daughter, and their feelings. Meanwhile, Juncio hoped that what had happened between him and Abigail was enough to make her stay. He spent his night feeling so happy and fulfilled. When it was morning, however, Juncio realized that he had been wrong. He came out of his room feeling hopeful and wanted them to have breakfast as a family. But when breakfast was served and Abigail came to the table with Bella, she wasn't smiling. Seeing the expression on her face, Juncio knew that he wasn't going to get a positive answer from her. After Bella had her breakfast, she said, "I want Mummy and Daddy to take me to school today." Juncio smiled. "Of course, we will do just that, darling." He led Bella to the car. Abigail joined them and together, they dropped her off at school. On their way back, Abigail said to him, "Juncio, I'm leaving tomorrow as you're already aware." Although he had known that she was going to say it, hearing her actually say it caused Juncio to feel a sharp pain in his heart. "Okay," was the only word he replied. She went ahead to explain, "I don't want to let Bella know that we're leaving, so she won't cry. Tomorrow, once it's time to go pick her up from school, I will get a cab and go with all our luggage. I can tell her we're going to visit someone. That way, I'll make it easier because she would not be able to walk away if she knew what was happening, since she has grown fond of you." Juncio nodded as he smiled bitterly. "You seem to have it all figured out, Abigail. It's okay if that would make it easier for you, then it's fine." When they got back to Hanamdong, Juncio's grandfather called to say that he'd like to take Bella to school and bring her back. Juncio said, "Yes, you can take her to school, but Abigail needs to take her somewhere after school. They have plans, so you won't be able to pick her up." "No problem. As long as I can still spend time with her some other time," his grandfather replied. After the call ended, he sighed. "I'm sorry, grandfather. I know your heart will be broken when you find out the truth." That night, Juncio could barely get any sleep as he felt extremely sad. However, he promised himself that he would not show it in front of Abigail, so she wouldn't have to feel guilty. After Juncio's grandfather came and picked up Bella for school, Abigail remained in her room. Juncio couldn't tell if she was feeling bad or if she was packing up, or happy that she'd finally be free from him. But he was determined that he would not let them separate on bad terms. He went out and got a new Ferrari for her. Afterward, he signed the divorce papers, which he had prepared when they first signed their contracts, and kept in his room. He also wrote her a check for $5 million before going to her room. When he knocked on the door, Abigail opened it and said, "Hi. Can I come in?" Juncio asked. "Yes, you can," she replied, letting him into her room. Once he went in, Juncio said, "Since you'll be leaving today, I've come to say goodbye. I don't think I'll be able to watch you leave, Abigail, so I want to leave now so I won't be around when you are leaving." She stared at him as he said, "Here, this is a check. I'm sure with this, you'll be able to start your life anywhere you want, and Bella will never have a reason to lack again." Abigail stared at the check. $5 million? No, Juncio, I can't take this. This isn't what we agreed on from the start. Just let me have the 80 billion won, which is the balance of my money. No, it's a gift from me, Juncio said. I know, but I can't take it, Abigail replied. I insist, Juncio said. Please, Abigail, since you want to leave, the least you can do is let me do this for our girl. Consider it a gift for Bella. It will make me happy. Abigail sighed and took the check from him. Afterward, Juncio took hold of her hands and placed the car key in her palm. As she looked at the keys, she asked, Why are you giving this to me? Well, I also got you a car as a gift, Juncio replied. Oh no, Juncio. Abigail wanted to refuse. Relax, just listen, okay? When you're going today to pick Bella up from school, I don't want you to use a cab. You can drive to pick her up and drive to wherever you want to. At least with this car, Bella will not have to use public transportation since she hasn't been using it for a while. I'm just doing all this because I want her to be comfortable. Here are the divorce papers, I've signed them. Once you sign them as well, you can just leave them here. When I get back, I'll make sure the divorce agreement is processed and we'll be officially free from each other. After speaking, Juncio turned and wanted to leave, but then he stopped, turned back, and stared at Abigail again. I will always love you, Abigail. No matter what happens, I will never forget you. Juncio held her cheeks and kissed her softly. Afterward, he finally turned and walked out of the room. As she watched him walk away, Abigail placed her hand on her chest as her heart was racing. Meanwhile, Juncio went inside his room to change his clothes before leaving. Abigail picked up a pen and sat on her bed, staring at the divorce papers. After going through it, she wanted to sign it, but her fingers trembled. She recalled all the moments she had spent with Juncio, from when she first met him to how she had tricked him, and when he had chosen to marry her and become Bella's father. She thought back to when they went on their honeymoon, when they went to see a movie, and the moments when she bathed him in the shower, as well as what happened between them 2 days ago. As these memories filled her mind, Abigail tried to imagine her life without Juncio, and she found herself tearing up. She wiped her tears and said, Come on, Abigail, just get it over with. Do not forget why you're doing this, look at the bigger picture. Meanwhile, as Juncio came out of his house in Hanamdong, he stood outside with a sad expression on his face. He had done everything he could, but nothing worked, so he finally decided to give up. Despite everything, just as he told Abigail, he knew he'd always cherish her and Bella. He sighed, got into his car, and turned on the ignition. Just as he began to drive, Abigail dashed out of the house and ended up in front of his car. Juncio almost rammed into her, and if he wasn't fast enough to step on the brakes, he would have. He stared at Abigail in surprise, thinking that something had happened to Bella. He opened the door and hurried out, asking, What happened? Is everything okay? Abigail was panting for breath, and there were tears in her eyes. Did someone do something to Bella? Juncio asked because he knew Bella was the most important person in Abigail's life. I love you, Juncio, Abigail said. All this time, I didn't want to admit it to myself because I was afraid. Having been hurt before, I feared that someday you'll get tired of me and you won't want to have anything to do with me anymore. And because of that, I decided to walk away. But Juncio, even if I have 1 more month or 2 more months with you, I'd rather spend it and think about the consequences later on. Juncio, what kills me the most is the thought of being without you, and I just realized it now. I am very sorry. I am sorry for giving you a hard time. Please give me another chance. I promise that I will. Abigail was still speaking when Juncio held her cheeks and devoured her lips. Afterward, he pulled her into his arms, hugging her. At this point, he felt like the happiest man in the world. He had no way of explaining it to Abigail. When he pulled away, he wiped her tears. He noticed that the men who guarded his gate, as well as the other domestic staff in his house, were staring at them, smiling. He said, Let's go inside, our domestic staff are looking at us. Abigail chuckled, and Juncio held her hand, walking with her into the house. When they got inside, he led her straight to his room, opened the door, and let Abigail in. He wanted to ask her why and how she figured out that she was in love with him. But just as he turned, Abigail threw herself into his arms and crashed her lips on his. They hurriedly took off their clothes as their hands could barely stay off each other's bodies. When the passion was spent, Abigail stared at Juncio with a smile on her face. What? Why are you staring at me like that? He asked. She said, I was just thinking that I was almost foolish enough to let a man like you go. I mean, you're like a rare treasure. You're perfect, Juncio, the best man in the world. Juncio chuckled. If you're saying it, Abigail, then it must be true. Juncio spent the next 2 days at home happily. Each time Abigail asked him if he wasn't going to work, he said no. This feels like I'm finally getting my honeymoon, so let me enjoy it a while longer. On the night before he was to resume, he told Abigail, I need to say something to you. I'm all ears, Abigail replied. Juncio hesitated because he didn't want Abigail to worry, but at the same time, he wanted her to be conscious of her safety. He had gotten a few bodyguards for himself, and also instructed them to keep an eye on her until he took care of his enemies. However, he still believed that she needed to know so she could be extra cautious. Someone wants me dead, he said. Abigail gasped, What? Who would want you dead and why? Why does someone want to kill you? Seeing her restless expression, Juncio said, Just calm down, okay? In the accident I had back then, someone deliberately tampered with my brakes. The person wanted to kill me, so I had to pretend that I didn't know what happened and told everyone it was an ordinary accident because the person who did this was someone close, someone I consider family. And who is that? Abigail asked. Taehyun. Taehyun, you mean your cousin tried to kill you? Abigail was shocked. Yes, Juncio replied. But why would he do that? Abigail asked in surprise. Juncio smiled. Isn't it obvious? He must be upset by the shares. I mean, after my grandfather set that condition, everyone began fighting and doing their best to meet up with it. At the time when he felt he had a chance, he had no complaints about all the shares being sent to one person, probably because he thought he would win it. But now that it turned out to be me and my grandfather gave it to me, he suddenly had a problem with the sharing formula, saying that my grandfather ought to have shared it among all of us. I got to hear this from someone very close to him, his younger brother Min-jae, who is my ally. He had called me before the accident to tell me about his brother's complaints and the fact that his brother was looking for a way to take my shares from me. At the time, I didn't take him seriously. I figured that no matter what Taehyun would do, he would never be successful. Why? Because Taehyun is nothing close to me when it comes to business. He is just a learner. I am really proficient in business, and I got to where I was by using my wits, something Taehyun lacks. In the end, he resorted to attempted murder. I wanted to get well first, and there was also the issue of you wanting to leave me. I'm sorry, Abigail said. I must have added to your burden. No, of course you did not, Juncio replied. Abigail, you've made me very happy, you have no idea. Abigail smiled while Juncio continued. So now I want to take action against Taehyun, and I know that it will come at a cost. His partner might want to use this opportunity to attack me or someone else in my house, since we will be going out every day. I have even made an arrangement for Bella to be guarded while in school. She would have security with her 24/7, although she will not realize it. This would ensure her protection until everything gets back to normal. I've also arranged for a few bodyguards to follow you around, and me too. They will report early this morning, and we would get to meet all of them. I'm just taking the right precautions. Thank you, Abigail said. Thank you for considering my well-being. Don't mention it, Juncio replied. Abigail, if anything were to happen to you, you know that I will never be able to move on, right? Yes, I do, Abigail replied. Okay, now that I have told you, let me call my grandfather. Juncio called his grandfather, and when he picked up, he said, Taehyun wants me dead. Taehyun wants you dead? His grandfather was surprised. What are you talking about, Juncio? Well, my accident. It turns out it was no accident. I had professionals look into it, and we were able to detect that someone deliberately tampered with my brakes, and the person was Taehyun. The person who did it was caught, and he confessed to being sent by Taehyun. But why would Taehyun do something so despicable? His grandfather asked. Juncio smiled. Isn't it obvious? Taehyun wants my shares. He believes that if I'm out of the way, it would be easier for him to get them. Who else would want to go against him? No one. However, I am not calling you because I want you to deal with Taehyun. I'm calling to tell you that it's time for me to take action. Do not get upset when you hear about it, and do not try to stand in my way. What do you intend to do? His grandfather asked. What else? A crime has been committed, and so I've reported it to the police. I'm going to get Taehyun arrested. The only reason why I'm doing this by the books is because of you. I do not want to take care of him the way I would have loved to. Hope you understand what I'm saying. Yes, I do, his grandfather replied. It's really sad that Taehyun had to go to such lengths just for the sake of wealth. Is he that power hungry? Obviously he is, Junseo replied. Well, if he has committed a crime and you're sure about it, go ahead and punish him. In fact, you waiting up until this time and telling me means you've been very lenient. Go ahead and punish him. He deserves it. Junseo smiled. Thank you, grandfather. When the call ended, he said to Abigail, I knew it. I knew my grandfather would take my side. I just had to wait for the right time. At this time, though, Ethan, who was in his house, was busy scrolling through different mature sites searching for a contact. He finally got one and called. When the call connected, he said, I have some sex videos I would like to sell. You can put them on your site. I can send you a preview of the videos so you can see what it's all about. Okay, send me a preview, the man on the other side of the phone said. Let me see what you want me to buy. Ethan sent a part of the video to the man, and after viewing it, the man was impressed. He called him and said, This is such an amazing video. I would like to have all of it. Ethan smiled. He had deliberately cut out the part that shows his face, since he didn't want his face to be seen on the videos except Eugene's. By the time she finds out, she will no longer have the will to live, he said to himself. The transfer was made. He sent the video to the man, and his money was paid into his account. Looking at his balance, Ethan smiled. Finally, I have so much money to do everything I want. The first thing he did was to call the hospital and paid them for their bills because he had gone into an agreement with the doctor and didn't want to go back on it to avoid anything that will ruin his next course of action. Abigail got dressed, and so did Junseo. So where did you say we are going to? Junseo said, Well, grandfather has decided to spend the day with Bella, so we are going to different places beginning with the mall. We will shop for so many things. Oh no, not the mall, Abigail said. Come on, women love shopping. How can you have a problem with it? Junseo asked. Okay, it's fine, where else? Abigail asked. Well, after shopping, I would love us to go skydiving, Junseo replied. No extreme sport. Abigail shook her head. It is not an extreme sport, Junseo argued. I don't care, we are not doing it, Abigail insisted. Okay, sorry about that, Junseo said. Let's go to a bar. Yeah, I know a good bar where we can sing and dance. Arg, Abigail reacted. You're impossible, Junseo said. Okay, we can go see a movie, and this time, I won't be going as your fake husband, but as your real husband. What do you say? Well, that sounds very sweet, Abigail replied. I think that would work for me. Junseo smiled and hugged her. All right, come on. First of all, we are having lunch outside. As Adrian watched their interaction from the side, he felt very happy about it. He called Grace and asked, Have you heard the good news? What's the good news? Grace asked. He smiled. I wanted us to gossip a little about it, thinking you had heard from Abigail. No, I haven't heard anything. Tell me, is it something I don't know? Grace inquired. It's about Abigail. Don't worry, she will tell you herself. In that case, let me call her right away, Grace replied. No, not right away. You should wait. Right now she's busy. Call her maybe later in the evening, and you can talk about it. He advised. Okay, Grace said. I need to get back to work. Love you. Abigail and Junseo spent the evening outside, just as they had agreed. They had lunch. Afterward, they went shopping and finally went to see the movies. Everything Junseo picked out for Abigail was taken straight to the house in Hanamdong. There were so many that Abigail wondered if she would be able to wear all of them in her lifetime. Even when she kept telling Junseo that it was okay, she didn't need more, he refused to give in, saying, It's my duty to spoil you, Abigail, so let me do you the honor. As they were making their way to the cinema, Abigail finally noticed the bodyguards who were following them and said, I thought I was going to be meeting them first. Yeah, you will first thing in the morning. It's just that tonight, I just needed them around to ensure our safety. All right, Abigail replied. After seeing the movie, they came back to Hanamdong feeling happy and content, talking about how interesting the movie was. Abigail's phone began to ring, and she hurried out to pick up the call, seeing that it was from Grace. "Oh, Grace, I wanted to call you. I'm so sorry. I've been caught up doing so many things. I know you have something to tell me. Share the gossip. I am eager to hear it." Grace replied. Abigail chuckled. "Oh, I guess you know me too well. Junseo got the shares from his grandfather, and we were this close to going our separate ways. But suddenly everything became different. We are officially a couple, and I think I'm in love with Junseo." "You think?" "Oh no, I don't think. Grace, I am in love with Junseo, and in all honesty, I have never felt this happy in my life before. He's just so perfect that it scares me. He spoils me and does anything I want. It feels like a dream." Grace squealed in excitement. "Oh my God, I am so happy. I am so happy for you, Abigail. Wow, this is such amazing news. Oh my God." "Yeah," Abigail said. "What did I do to deserve this, Grace? I mean, what good thing did I do to deserve such an amazing man?" "Relax and enjoy yourself," Grace replied. "Stop questioning whether you deserve Junseo or not. Make the moments count, okay? Since you both are in your honeymoon phase, I should give you enough time to get along." Abigail smiled. "All right then, good night, darling." The moment the call ended, Abigail was about to go into her room when her phone began to ring. She stared at the number. It was unknown. Thinking about how Junseo had told her that someone was after his life, she wondered if that was the caller. After hesitating for a while, she finally answered the call. She was shocked when she heard Ethan's voice. "Hey, Abigail." She rolled her eyes. "I'm hanging up now." "Hold on, you can hang up if you want, but listen to what I want to say first. I want my daughter back." Ethan replied. "What? What are you talking about?" Abigail asked. "Ethan, are you being delusional again?" "No," Ethan replied. "I am clear-headed, Abigail, and now I know right from wrong. I know Bella is my daughter. I can bet my life on it, and now I am ready to take responsibility for her.